With the 2020 NBA draft just 2 weeks away, I decided that now was a good time to release my final big board for this year. A reminder that my big board is based off what I believe and not what ESPN or 24/7 Sports or any other big name company believes. It's based off what I've seen on tape and stats that I've seen and using those to create an evaluation on a prospect. And I'm not as high on some of these guys in the draft that a lot of people are. Some of your favorite prospects won't be ranked as highly as you might think, and it's okay to disagree with me. The first time someone's disagreed with me, you can go check my last few videos. Also, just in life in general, you're not going to agree with everyone on anything. Like, I don't think Duel Monsters is a great series. I think GX and Arc 5 are better, but I still think Duel Monsters is really good. And that's a good point to bring up because just because I don't have a guy ranked highly does not mean I don't think they're good. These guys have a chance to play in the best basketball league in the world. That's a better chance than anyone on the planet. They have to be really, really good. So I'm not saying they aren't, but compared to their peers, they may not be as good as you would think. But before we get into today's list, if you were part of the 85% that watch my videos and unsubscribe, or you just happen to be new and like what you see, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I upload a video every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's always going to be about basketball, so if you love basketball, I really think that you would love this channel. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so doing all those things would be a really big help to me. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. At number 1, I have the Israeli Hawks point guard, LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball is an elite passing prospect, one of the best of the last 10 years. Has elite vision, has elite accuracy on his passes, has the height at 6'7" to see over the defense, passes well in the half court, passes well in transition, and most importantly, passes well in the pick and roll, as the NBA is a pick and roll league. Has a great handle as well, great touch on his floaters, and this has a high basketball IQ and feel for the game that can't be taught. Like, those are the things that you have or you don't, and he has them. Most definitely has them. As I started with my words there. But he's not perfect, not a good defender. Think that's more of an effort thing though. We'll see how that works in the NBA. Needs to improve his shot selection as well. Also needs to improve his shooting form, but I think the shot selection is a bigger reason for his inefficiency, because I do think he's very much someone that you can't leave open from 3 because he will shoot them. But I do think he needs to improve his shot selection. His shot selection was eye-bleeding still, but it's not as bad as it once was, and I think that's encouraging that it wasn't as bad as it once was. Must add weight to his frame is the most important thing though, because he doesn't finish well through contact right now, because he isn't as physically strong, like only 185 pounds or something like that. You can tell from videos that he is working out, trying to add weight and muscle, and that's a good thing, but it is something that is a bit concerning. But he is young, so I do expect him to add weight as time goes on and improve his ability to finish through contact, draw more fouls, things like that. He's somebody that I believe would be an elite prospect in any draft, and he's somebody that isn't just a product of a weak draft class. Like, he isn't number 1 because the draft class is weak. He's number 1 because he's the best and he's an elite prospect. And I think people need to realize that, because he has a higher floor than a lot of people think he does. My number 2 prospect is Anthony Edwards, the shooting guard out of Georgia. Edwards is the most physically gifted guard prospect I have ever seen. The guy's built like a tank. 6'5", 225 pounds, 6'9" wingspan. And based off what I saw from him in the pro day, not only has he added weight, he's definitely added muscle, and his athleticism still looks insane. He's a great slasher because of his athleticism and his ball handle, which is pretty good, I would say. Good shot creator off the dribble as well. When he's in the groove, he's unstoppable. Go watch the Michigan State game. It was incredible to watch. I know he didn't shoot well from 3, but I think he's another guy that's like, yeah, he didn't shoot well from 3, but you can't leave him open. And that's the baseline you look for in a prospect, and he has that right now. What is concerning though is he has poor shot selection. And shot selection has a direct impact on his style of game, which is as a scorer. And again, I'm not saying he's such a pure scorer. He's someone that can get you 5 to 6 assists on any given night, but he definitely is known for scoring, and having poor shot selection has a direct impact on your ability to score the basketball. I know he didn't have great teammates around him and was forced into tougher shots, but even then, there still were plenty of questionable moments where he wasn't pressured like that. doesn't always use his physical tools to his advantage. You would think, as a guy that has great athleticism and is built like Adonis, he would just bulldoze his way to the rim at will, but there's just too many times where he settled for those tough mid-range jumpers, and it was frustrating. But regardless, I think he's a really good prospect. He's somebody that the shot selection thing is so big and massively a problem that it's kind of holding his grade back a bit. But if he had just like average shot selection, he would be easily in contention for that number one spot. But he doesn't, and that's just something we have to live with. But I think he's somebody that I think he's unfairly, criticized for his motive and his motivation about does he love basketball, which I hate with any prospect. Like, this is somebody that you can just tell loves basketball, and you can tell when someone loves him when someone doesn't. And if you can go to the NBA, I think that you have to love the game at some sort of level. And again, it just bothers me that people act like he doesn't love the game when you don't even know him. So stop acting like you do. But regardless, I think he's a really good prospect, and he's somebody that, along with LaMelo, they're easily the number one, number two guys for me. And then the rest of these guys, I think there's a bit of debate about where you rank them. My number 3 prospect in the 2020 NBA draft is a big man from UNC and a former high school teammate of the number 1 guy in this draft, in my opinion, LaMelo Ball, Onyeka Okongwu. Okongwu is a great athlete for a big man. He's a great pick-and-roll defender, which is really his forte. And why being a great pick-and-roll defender is important is because, the league has become a pick-and-roll league, and you need guys that can defend it, and he can defend that at a high level. Moves well laterally, great motor, great shot blocker, anticipates timing on those really well, can more than hold his own on switches against wings and guards. I wouldn't say he's a Bam Adebayo level defender now, because I think that will take time to develop. It took Bam time to develop those things as well. But I do think he can grow into that kind of defender that Bam is, like a defensive player of the year kind of guy. He's a good post scorer on offense, but most of his offense will come through pick and rolls and lobs. And he's somebody that isn't a good shooter. This is not so great shooting ability, but the free throw percentage at 70% on a decent volume is encouraging. But he can be a bit jumpy on his blocks as well. But what young player isn't? He's somebody that I think can go top 3, but you can't expect him to be a great offensive player, but you can expect all-time great defensive potential with him. But I do think that there are some encouraging signs as a potential somewhat shooter. Maybe not like a Karl-Anthony Towns, who's on his way to being the greatest shooting big man of all time, but definitely somebody you can't leave open. I think he needs to develop that. I do see teams passing on him, though. I do think that there's a chance he falls in the draft, falls to that 6 to 10 range maybe, because of the concerns about his limited offense. But at the end of the day, I think the defense is enough to at least consider him in the top 3. At number 4, I have Tyrese Maxey, the shooting guard out of Kentucky. Maxey has a great frame for someone that is more of an undersized 2 guard at 6'3", 198 pounds. He's a good shot creator, better shooter than I think people give him credit for. I know he didn't shoot well from 3 at Kentucky, but he did shoot well during high school and on the EYBL circuit. And he was taking some deep threes at those levels as well. So that is something that I always take into account. Also, I think his low 3-point percentage in college had a lot to do with the fact that he was adjusting from being someone that created on the ball a lot to being more of an off-ball creator. Now, I do think that is something that he will need to improve on, because I think he's not someone that's good enough for me to necessarily say you can be full-time on ball. I do think he's good enough to play on ball, but not like a full-time on-ball creator like a James Harden. But he's definitely someone that will need to improve off ball, because I think it'll be a 50-50 split of him creating on the ball and off the ball at the NBA level. However, I do think as time goes on, he will improve on that, gets more reps, things like that. The thing I like about him the most is the fact that he plays his best against the best, though. Doesn't shy away from the spotlight. His best games were against the best teams in college. And that's just something you can't teach. The ability to perform your best against the best under pressure is something that either you have or you don't, and he has it. Good defender as well, that puts in a lot of work at that end of the floor. He is a tweener due to his shooting guard skills, but in the frame of a point guard. Ideally, he's somebody that will improve as a passer as time goes on and he gets more reps there. And with Kentucky players, it's always something we have to look at. They may have some hidden skills because we see it a lot. We saw it with Devin Booker, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, where they were becoming something in the NBA that they weren't in college because you have to play a certain style under Calipari. But I think Tyrese Maxey has a chance to be a really good two-way player, the guy that averages like 18, 4, and 4, while also playing really good defense. And a lot of teams would want a guy like that. At number 5, I have Killian Hayes, the point guard that played in Zumi this year, but he is French, obviously. He is a great pick-and-roll player, somebody that excels as a pick-and-roll ball handler, both as a scorer and as a passer. He's a good shot creator, really love his step back. It's easily the best step back in this draft. He's a good passer as well with good vision. I wouldn't say he's the best because obviously LaMelo is like one of the best passing prospects ever, but I would say he's probably the second best passer in this draft at least among guys that will be first round picks. He has good defensive potential as well, but I really like about him is the fact that he can play both guard spots because he's 6'5", and has the skills because he's somebody that can play the two guard role as a scorer, and he's someone that also can be a point guard as a facilitator. So there is a lot of flexibility in what kind of lineups you put him in and where you play him because he can do so many things for you as a guard. He has some problems though. He is left-hand dominant, something that I think is noticeable because he is a left-handed player, obviously. I do think that is something he needs to improve on, but I think he will naturally improve on it as he just fills his frame out and gets stronger and is able to handle physicality better. Also, he needs to improve as a shooter. He didn't shoot well from 3 overseas, but I do think that's something that he will improve over time as he gets more reps in, things like that. Needs to cut down the turnovers, had an abysmal assist to turnover ratio. It was only 1.68, so he does need to improve there. But overall, he's somebody that was efficient. He shot 58.5%. It's a true shooting percentage overseas this year, which is good for a young guard playing in a pro league. And he's somebody that, could have a D'Angelo Russell type impact. And I think he can even be better than D'Angelo Russell as far as the kind of impact he can have because he's a better defender and he's a better passer, but maybe he won't be a scorer that D'Angelo Russell is. But regardless, I think he has a bright future in the league. He's going to be a guy that I believe should be a top 5 pick in an NBA draft. So, of course, I think he has potential. But, he's somebody that the range on him is just so interesting. Because some teams have him as a guy that's a late lottery pick. Some teams have him as like the number 1 pick. So, it'll be interesting to see where he goes in the draft. At number 6, I have Cole Anthony, the point guard out of North Carolina. Cole is a really good shot creator. He has the skills to play both guard spots. Better shooter than he gets credit for. His low shooting splits have a lot more to do with the poor spacing around him. And being North Carolina's only real offensive creator, his numbers in wins were significantly better than they were in losses. And you might say, oh, it's just because, that's just how it works. You play better when you win. Given the situation he was in as the only offensive creator on that team, while also being somebody that was playing on a team that didn't have good spacing, that to me says if his numbers are significantly better in wins and he's more efficient in wins, that tells me that he needed to play well in order for North Carolina to win. That doesn't say that, oh, you play better when you win. No, that tells me that they needed him, and he was that valuable to the team that in order for North Carolina to even have a chance, he needed to play well. So think about it that way. Also you have to factor in that he was playing hurt as well, so keep those things in mind when you're talking about him as a prospect. But to continue on with his skills, good rebounder for a guard, especially when it's only 6'2", and he's a solid passer. I wouldn't say he's a great passer, but he does need to improve on it to become a full-time point guard, because I think that's what's going to happen if he wants to be a starter on a serious contender, is he'll have to learn how to be a better passer, because he's solid, but he needs to get to a point where he can be a full-time initiator, because he's undersized. Again, 6'2", 6'3" wingspan, which isn't good as well, but he does have a great mindset. I love the intensity that he plays with. You can tell he just loves the game of basketball when you watch him play. And he's somebody that's just taking such an unjustified fall down the big boards, in my opinion. Like, he's gone from like consensus top 5 to like outside the lottery. And if he gets drafted outside the lottery, it's gonna be ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous if he falls out of the top 10. And he's somebody that honestly, like, I would consider in the top 3 even. And that may sound crazy, but he's that good. But, you know, there are things he needs to improve on. It's like with every other prospect in this draft, but he's just better than I think a lot of people believe. And that's the same way I feel about Tyrese Maxey and Killian Hayes. Like, these are guys that I feel like they're a lot better than the mainstream media is making them out to be. Because with Maxey and Cole specifically, these are guys that are projected to go outside of like top 10, maybe even outside the lottery. But in my opinion, these guys should be like considered locks to go top 10. They're just that good. And I just think it's a sign that people just look at stats, and you know, there's just so much more context behind just the stats. At number 7, I have Isaac Okoro, the small forward out of Auburn. Okoro is the best perimeter defender in the draft, and I think there's an argument you could say that he's the best overall defender in this draft, and I think it's close between him and Okongwu for who you believe is that best defender. He has a great frame at 6'6", 225 pounds. He's not done growing. I wouldn't be shocked if by the time he fills out his frame, he's going to be around 230 to 235. He has a high motor, which is very important because you can have all the physical tools to be a really good defender, but if you don't have the motor, you're not going to be a good defender. At least not like all the time or consistently a good defender. Having a motor is important, and motor is something either you have or you don't. It's something that you really can't teach, and Okoro more than has a great motor. He does all the things you need intangibles and skill-wise on defense, and he has the mental makeup of an elite defender as well. He does all the little things that don't show up in the box score. Think of Marcus Smart, guys that just do all those things. They may not get the most steals or the most blocks every night, but they make an impact on defense, whether it be forcing turnovers or whether it be forcing difficult shots, things like that. Something else I think is underrated about Okoro is his passing. He's a really good passer. I wouldn't say that he's good enough right now to be a point forward type or someone that you can have run your offense through, but I do think that he's more than above average as far as someone that can find the open man in that regard. And I think with time, he will be able to develop into a point forward type. He's somebody that is not a good shooter, however. He's someone that didn't shoot well from the line, didn't shoot well from 3. There are inconsistencies in his mechanics that are a bit troubling as well. And I think that's a swing skill for him. That's something that he'll need to work on if he wants to reach his highest outcome. Because his highest outcome to me is being one of the better two-way players in the NBA. But I think his floor to me is still relatively high because he has defensive instincts and has the motor that you just can't teach. And having a guy that's willing to do the dirty things and do all the little things, a lot of teams will want that, and that will keep him in the league for a long time, in my opinion. And he's somebody that I think is just a bit underrated as a prospect because I feel like people think he's a project, but he's not a complete project. There definitely are solidified skills with him. At number 8, I have Devin Vassell, the wing out of Florida State. Vassell can play both the shooting guard and the small forward spot. At 6'7", 194 pounds, he will need to add weight, but I think over time he will. That is one of the things that is a bit of concern, but I think he will get to like 200, 205 pounds, which will be more than enough. The big thing with him is his shooting. That's something that is highlighted a lot. He shot well from 3, and you might say, well, he didn't take that many attempts, but I think that had a lot more to do with Florida State's system and how they play rather than it was about his ability. Because his tape reflects somebody that's a lot better of a shooter than the volume of 3s that he took. He's a good pull-up shooter. It's definitely where he's at his best. Can do some catch-and-shoot stuff as well. But it's not just about offense with him. I think offensively, he's going to be Chris Middleton-esque. Not necessarily Chris Middleton, because Chris Middleton could be a 25-point-per-game scorer in this league, but kind of that same style, I would say. Maybe not like that kind of production I see from Vassell, though. He's somebody that is also good on defense. He's a good off-ball defender. Not a good on-ball defender. I wouldn't say he's bad either, but he excels off-ball because, you know, he's athletic, but he's not like that athletic. Like, he will get blown by, things like that. But he is a good off-ball defender, And it's just somebody that will affect the game in that way. And you need guys that can affect the game off ball as well, both on offense and defense. I know there is the shooting video going around about how he, completely overhauled his form, and it doesn't look good. But, it's not enough for me to just say, okay, he's not that good, because he is very good. Go watch him play. His tape is really good, and he's somebody, I don't really place high expectations on prospects. I don't feel have a high ceiling, but he is somebody that I feel like could end up surprising me in what he ends up being in the NBA, because I've been wrong about guys' ceilings in the past before, and he's definitely the one out of anyone in this draft. He's the one that I feel like will completely exceed my expectations if everything goes right for him. At number 9, I have Tyrese Halliburton, the point guard out of Iowa State. Halliburton, in my opinion, is one of the safer, if not the most safe player in this draft. There isn't a lot of bust factor with him. I'd be shocked if he ended up being a bust, and I expect him to go in the top 10. He is an efficient scorer, had an insane 63.12 shooting percentage, which is out of this world for a guy that took 5.6 3-point attempts a game. He's a really good shooter as well. He's had above 40% on, again, those 5.6 attempts, which is really good. Great passer, has great vision, good feel for the game, good rebounder for a guard, has the size and the skill to play both guard spots. There are some concerns with his shooting motion. I think that he can tweak them a bit to make it better. But at the same time, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And it's going in for him right now. And I do think his form is translatable to the league. So I think that if he wants to, just don't change it to the point where it's affecting how you're able to make them. But regardless of that, the other big thing with him is he must add weight to his frame. He's 6'5", only weighs 175 pounds, needs to get to around 190, 195. He reminds me a lot of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander when he was coming out of Kentucky. I think I said plenty of similar things about the two. They both were guys that I viewed to play the point guard and the shooting guard because they had the skills and the height to play both of those positions. Of course, I do think that Shai has a higher ceiling than Halliburton does. I think Halliburton doesn't have like a really high ceiling. I think his ceiling is kind of like that Jeff Teague kind of point guard, where he's a guy that kind of just is really good, maybe gets an all-star team every once in a while, if like on an off year where he's putting up solid numbers and his team's doing really well. But I don't really see him becoming a player that is an all-star. Like, he doesn't have the ceiling that a Cole Anthony or a Killian Hayes have, in my opinion at least. But again, he's a very safe player that at worst is a contributor off the bench, at best can be a really, really good above average point guard, and a lot of teams could use a guy like that. At number 10, I have Kira Lewis Jr., the point guard out of Alabama. Kira Lewis is the fastest player in this draft. He's someone that's fast with and without the ball in his hands, which means he has a good handle because you can be fast and might not be as fast with the ball in your hands because of the fact that you don't have a good dribble. He has a good dribble. So the discrepancy between the speed with and without the ball is like very minute. He is super young for a sophomore as well. He's younger than a lot of the freshmen that are in this class. And that's because he enrolled in college early. And he was playing in the SEC as a 17-year-old last season, or should I say the year before that, as a freshman. And he should have been playing his senior year of high school, but he was playing in one of the best conferences in the country. And this year, in what was supposed to be his true freshman year, he averaged 18.5 points a game, 4.8 rebounds a game, and 5.2 assists per game. Playing, again, really well in the SEC. Solid passer, solid shooter, can play on and off the ball. Good rebounder for a point guard, especially given his size. Draws fouls at a decent rate given his frame. The two big things he needs to work on for me are, first of all, his weight. It's a massive concern. He only weighs 165 pounds, and as someone that's 6'3", you need to bulk up, and he will. And I have no doubt that he will, because he's really good, and he's going to grow naturally, because that's just how things work. And you also have to, cut down the turnovers. That's the other big thing with him. He didn't have the assist to turnover ratio, 1.47. But I think he will improve on that as he grows as a player. And this is a guy that is underrated. He's somebody that's ranked between like 15 and 20 into like the 30s on some boards. And he's, in my opinion, one of the best players in this draft. He's somebody that I would take in the top 10. In fact, in my mock draft I did with Mojo, I had him going 10 to the Phoenix Suns. He's somebody that, it's just kind of ridiculous to me that he isn't considered highly, because when you watch him play, you look and say, that's a top 10 pick. That's a guy I would take in the top 10, maybe even top 5, depending on the team. He's just really good, and I think he deserves a lot more recognition than he does. But that is the end of this video. If you made this point, thank you so much. I know there were two guys in particular, actually three guys in particular that didn't make this list that you were probably shocked didn't. Those guys, of course, being James Wiseman, Obi Toppin, and Deni Avdija. I'm just not as high on those guys. I'm actually making a video about those three guys, and by the time you're watching this video, I'm probably already editing, or at least working on getting the recordings in for a video about those three prospects. So be in tune for that. That's either coming out on Friday or Monday, depending on when I finish editing this video, because this video is going to be like 25 minutes long at least, and we'll see where we are there. But if you made it to this point, thank you so much. Like, subscribe, do all those things, mean a lot to me. Go down in the comment section, give me your top 10 for this year's draft. Maybe go down and call me an idiot for not having certain guys really high. Specifically those three guys I mentioned. I know people are going to call me an idiot, but with that being said, have a nice day.